I also would like to introduce Dr. Jayaprakash Mulil. He's a consultant, Department of Gastrointestinal Sciences, Christian Medical College. And I request Professor Santan Gopal to come and give his talk. And as I mentioned, he's the Associate Editor of the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology. Even though I talked passionately about ophthalmology, I promise you from this minute, I don't think we will talk ophthalmology. We only will talk how to write.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a part of the organizing committee, so I'll thank myself. Right, you will hear about the evidence-based medicine. Now, you keep hearing a lot about this evidence-based medicine nowadays because the old days of good old boys sitting around the table and deciding, okay, this is the treatment, nothing else works for this disease, the days are gone. See, the internet has really made a lot of difference to the way we think, the way we analyze, and the way we understand a disease process. So, you will hear about evidence all over and very often. So, you need to know what this evidence-based medicine we are talking about. What is evidence-based medicine? I will just take you through 4 or 5 different stages so that you understand. Some of you may be in the beginning of research methodology. Some of you may be at a very high level. But since it's a teaching process for everyone, I'll start at basic level and go to the higher level later. Now, I'll take you through about what are the levels of evidence, how to collect evidence, and from where do you collect evidence, and why is it important to practice evidence-based medicine, and is evidence-based medicine the only way forwards, and is EBM needed in everyone's practice? These are the things I'll talk about. In simple terms, evidence-based medicine means medicine practice based on a sound evidence. Now, what is a sound evidence? See, this is how you go about. What is a sound evidence? This is how when he says question everything, this is how you cross-question. Okay, what is the sound evidence? Evidence-based medicine. What's the sound? Any evidence that is shown to be true by many different researchers in different places and different parts of the world is probably correct. That's not necessarily true, because when you say what is absolute truth, what is absolute truth? We don't know. Because sun is here tomorrow. 5,000 years from today, we don't know. 10,000 years today, sun may not be there. Does that mean sun was never there? So what is absolute truth? Absolute truth is God. Nothing else is absolute truth. Everything else is relative truth. Okay? Now, when you say sound evidence, it means different levels of research workers have worked in different levels of situations and have created an information. That is a sound evidence. Okay? However, based on certain important facts, the Canadian Task Force divided the levels of evidence into various grades. Okay? Level 1A is the best evidence. You have this thing, pointer. This one? Or this one? Which one? Just the light. Okay. Okay. Now, Canadian Task Force has divided the evidence into different grades. I found it. The better one? All right. If you say so. Okay. 1A. Yeah, true indeed. That's why you are editor, I am associate. 1A is the meta-analysis of the randomized control trials. Okay? That's the best evidence you get. Now, what's the meaning of this? When you postgraduates and research workers look for articles in the journals, in the internet, in the maze of articles you see, look for an article which says RCTs. Meta-analysis of RCTs paper, you take them apart. That is the best evidence you can get at the moment. So if you are doing research on something, you have 15 papers of MCT, very good. Take that as your baseline and then look for others. That's the idea I am trying to give. Second, one randomized control trial. If it is there, okay. If you can't find so many of meta-analysis RCTs, if there is one randomized trial, that's good enough. You take it. If you can't find one controlled but not randomized trial, is the next stage. If you can't find that, one good experimental trial. Okay? If you can't find that, then you have comparison, correlation and case control trials. And see where the expert knowledge comes. Very low. Okay? But don't discount the expert knowledge at all, because expert knowledge is easy to find. You can pick up the phone and call your friend who has done a lot of work. Look, I am having this problem. Can you help me? And he will definitely help you. To do that on the net or anywhere, it takes you 5 or 6 hours, but you get in 10 minutes the answer. So, although it is low down, don't discount the expert knowledge. Okay? Now, all types of evidences are important in understanding the managing the patient problems. Every level of evidence, but not all the evidences are equally important. You have realized now. Okay? There are various levels of evidence, not all of them are equally important. The reason why these evidences are classified is because the degree of freedom from the biases which creeps into the study. Okay, you have done a wonderful operation and you are including this patient in the data. You check the vision, his vision is 624. Okay? Now you want only the patients who have 20/20 vision to be included. What do? You delete him from your study. Because his vision is not up to your expectation, you delete him from the study. So you are introducing bias into your study. You understand? So to make sure that there is a freedom from the bias, these evidences are classified into various types. Now the root of the evidence-based medical practice is the principle that the patient should get the best available treatment. Okay? That's the principle. So you want to gather this evidence. So where do you get the evidence from? I told you already, expert knowledge. Just pick up a phone and ring and ask. That is first step of gathering the evidence-based medicine. But that is at the bottom. Okay? It's not at the top. Then what you do, you say, okay, I'll take the textbook and read. Which textbook you read? 2002, 2003, some of them have not been edited at all. Duke Elder, you will say, I will read Duke Elder. That is 1960s. None of the information in Duke Elder is true today. So then you say, okay, I don't want to read textbook, I'll read journals. Which one you read journals? There are 10,000 journals in ophthalmology. So which one you will read? As he said, those journals with an impact factor of more than 1. Fine. You pick up only those journals which have a better impact factor and try and read them. Okay? Now, every year the number is multiplying. There are 10,000, I told you, 10,000 ophthalmology journals. It's just not possible. It is mind-boggling. Okay? What you do is, you choose a journal which gives you open access, like IJO. Because you write to IJO, for each article they will charge you $32, $35. You don't have that kind of money. So find open access journals with good impact factor. Okay, that will give you a lot of information. Then where do you search? Search the net. You say Google search or any specific sites like PubMed, Trip database, Cochrane database, Embase. None of them give you free articles. But IJV gives you free articles. Okay, they charge you very nominally. 200 rupees per article is very, very nominal. Okay, you can write to IJO, they will supply you any article that you want. With thanks to Vasumati, and you can write to her also. She is very good. Okay, she can even do this. She will tell you all about You give her some keywords, she will search and send you the articles. But it comes at a very nominal price. Okay, literature research is the best way of searching evidence, because in literature you will find all levels of evidences. Okay, 1A, 1, everything is there in literature search. But there are some limitations. Access to internet, access to libraries may not always be available, and it's time consuming. And the lack of initiative and interest. Who will go there and do now? I have got some other work. There may not be power and the internet may not be working. Hundreds of things are there. Okay? So, all this, plus once you type in some words, you get 10,000 articles. You get fed up. You say, which one to choose from this 10,000 articles? You don't know. So, I'll give you example of what happens when you start doing research. I still have how many minutes? 9. Okay. So I'll. Yeah. Fine. I'll give you some example of what we will do. So since I am an ophthalmologist, I give you along ophthalmology. I don't know many other examples. So you have a diabetic patient who has been following with you for a number of years and says he has got decreased vision. What is the first thing you would do? Any ophthalmologist here? Ophthalmologists? Okay, plenty of them, no problem. So the first thing you will do is complaints of reduced vision, and you have noticed it has gone down by 2 or 3 lines, and you think it could be due to cataract. Okay? Now, what options do you have? Don't worry, remove the cataract, insert IOL, preferably multifocal IOL, and be happy and collect the money and finish. It got nothing to do with research, nothing to do with practice of medicine, nothing to do with evidence-based practice. But it has got everything to do with money. So that's one way of dealing with it. We don't want that. Okay? So we look at the macula, something wrong with the macula. Is the macula normal or is it edematous? Is the next question that comes into your mind, because his vision is dropped. So what do? A drop in vision is due to diabetic macular edema, or is it due to cataract, or both? We don't know the answer. See, this is a simple clinical practice. You are sitting there, you have seen the patient, that's how you think. Okay? In your clinical practice, you can do research. You don't need to have lab and things like. You can think and act properly. Now what do? You do the OCT. OCT is a special machine which tells you what is the macular thickness. So once you do the OCT, you realize, okay, this macula is thicker than normal. So you know that there is macular edema. But how do you know that this macula is thicker than normal? Because from the previous research, people have shown that if you do OCT and the macula is of this thickness, it is normal. If the macula of this thickness, it is abnormal. So once you have seen from the previous research, you know a certain number. If it is more than that number, it is edematous. So you know now the macula is edematous. Okay, now here is an example where you have a diabetic patient who has cataract and who has macular edema. Okay, now you have to decide which factor is contributing to his loss of vision more, cataract or is it macular edema? If you think it is the macular edema which is contributing to the loss of vision, as because you have noticed on OCT, okay, macular edema, then you have to think, should I do laser for this patient or should I do cataract only and be done with it? You see how once you start thinking, how many questions come to your mind. So what should I do for him? Should I do a grid laser or do immediate cataract surgery? Or, okay, let me do cataract and let me do immediately grid laser. That possibility is also there. So how do you decide? Next question that comes to me, if I do the grid laser, all right, I'll take this patient and do the grid laser. Does it work in all patients with diabetic macular edema? So it's how many questions come to your mind. Next, is the patient need cataract operation does he need cataract at all besides laser therapy? Okay, does this retinopathy progress after cataract surgery even if I do an uncomplicated cataract surgery? See, one simple diabetic patient has come to you and you have checked his vision and the vision has dropped. So many questions come to your mind if you practice properly. Okay? Not finished yet. See, is the grid laser followed by cataract better option? Or cataract extraction only is better option? Now, there are discussions about the use of intravitreal Avastin for maculopathy at the time of cataract operation. Should I give that while I am doing cataract? Is it a better option? Okay? Are there any other alternatives? See, now you have 10 questions to be answered in your mind before you operate on this patient. Because these are all evidences. For each question, there is evidence. Is the macula normal or it is edematous? It's the first question that came into your mind. You have the answer by doing OCT. If it is more than 230 or 250, it is obviously edematous. If it is less than that, it is not. Okay, you have an answer now. Next question that came into your mind. Should grid laser be done immediately or before cataract surgery? You don't know. You look for literature, you get 1,000 articles. So just phone a friend. He will tell you, call Natarajan and say, should I do laser or should I do cataract and then laser? Okay, that is one simple way of doing that. Decide to do the Google search, diabetic macular edema and cataract. You type these two words, diabetic macular edema and cataract, you get 549,000 results in 0.38 seconds. Who has the time to go through all this? See, Google search is a very inferior quality of doing medical research. Because wherever diabetic and macular edema is there, the Google picks up those words. Nothing to do with research. You understand? So Google is it is not bad, but it is an inferior quality of internet search for research. You cannot look through 549,000 articles. So it is not possible. So what do? You add some more qualifications to diabetic macular edema. You add phacoemulsification, diabetic macular edema progression, or phacoemulsification, diabetic macular edema progression search. Like that you add some more words. Okay? Then what it does, it gives you 10,800 results. Still unmanageable number. It's not possible to look through that. So Google search is inferior. Remember, don't go on searching Google for your research. It doesn't help you. Then there are other search places. I think Vasumati is going to talk to you about all that. So delete Google search from your research methodology for searching the papers. Then TRIP database. I like TRIP database, although Vasumati has her own, she likes it. Okay, she also says, I like TRIP database. I have become a member of that. I keep sending a lot of information free. It's very good because I read about 560 papers for IJO every year. That's a lot of paper to read and analyze. So every day, 5 a.m. I am about and reading IJO papers. 2 to 3 papers every day I read. Takes 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so I like to use TRIP database. Okay, you go to TRIP database and you will find many articles. Same. Okay. The next question that arises. You have read many articles and find out. Now we have read all the articles and what have we found out? That the diabetic macular edema can progress even if the cataract surgery is uncomplicated. Now we have a problem. If I operate on the patient, the macular edema can progress. What do? So, next question. How many percentage of the patients, it says 20% of the patients with macular edema does deteriorate after an uncomplicated operation. It doesn't say which 20%. It says 20% deteriorate. So what do? Phone a friend. Not a bad option. Okay? Then what do? He will say, do the grid and do the cataract later. Or he will say, do the cataract and within a month so do the grid laser. Or he may say, give Avastin at the end of cataract operation. So 3 options he will give you. your friend. But research also tells you the same. So then you look at the level 1 evidence for all the questions. When you look at the articles in level 1 evidence, not all the articles are level 1. Some of them are level 2, 2A, expert opinions. Okay? So the point is simple. The more you read, the more you get confused. So simple, if you are doing research, what you have to look for is look for evidence at highest level, number 1. Take home message is simple. Do not use Google as your research engine. 2. Use a meta-analysis of RCTs as your guideline. If you do that, I think I'll be very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Santan. And I request Dr. Patel to give the memento to Dr. Santan. In the meantime, anybody has questions or comments? Alok, you want to say something? There's a floating mic there. Can you give a floating mic?
Sir, we'll have one smile and photo.
Yes, definitely. Dr. Patel, you have any questions?
Any postgraduates want to ask any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can give the microphone. Just tell your name and your institution so that everybody...
I'll be very happy if you ask questions because you have understood or trying to understand. That's very important. Yeah.
Morning, sir. I'm Dr. Shruti Kothari. I'm an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
Just wish to ask you to reach up to the meta-analysis state. If we want to present a database or a literature, basically a presentation which is up to the meta-analysis level, what kind of help we can take and how do we proceed to have that paper where we know that if I've given you a presentation, how to reach up to the meta-analysis state?
Okay, I can't tell you right now because there has to be input from many people here who are going to teach you from various levels. I am just telling you what is the best evidence available in the literature, that is meta-analysis. But how to reach up to that, we will start from various stages. We will start from case report, which I am going to talk about, to how to publish. Because you need the support of statisticians, you need the support of funding, you need the support of the institutions, etc. to reach up to meta-analysis. So, by the end of this research, you will get the answer for that. Okay, right now it is difficult to say because you are just started. All I have said is, if level 1 evidence is the best, look for level 1 evidence in particular places, not anywhere you want. Okay, that answers your question in a way. Okay.
No, you hope we'll get the answer in the next 2 days. Any other comments? You want to say something? Samita? Okay. Yes, Alok. Can you give the microphone last? You can stand up and he'll bring the microphone to you.
Actually, for your question, meta-analysis is not a new thing. Actually, it is not a research project. Meta-analysis is only you pulled up all the randomized control trial available in a particular field and just you compare one by one. Imagine one RCT has a 400 patient. And if you collect 10 RCTs of the same quality or so you have 4,000 patients. Your evidence becomes more robust. It is nothing. Actually, if you search the literature, meta-analysis are a few meta-analysis are available in any subject and for a few bit. The reason meta-analysis is directly dependent upon the number of RCTs and quality of RCTs. It is not a new thing. Okay. So since RCT and also very important, quality of meta-analysis is directly dependent upon the quality of RCTs included to the meta-analysis.
Correct.
Okay. So you only do the RCTs at your research level. As a researcher, you can only do RCTs. Later on, when a number of RCTs are available in other words, from all over the world. In that way, RCTs from all over the world you can collect and you see what is the whole picture. Okay. So meta-analysis is not a project. Project is RCT. Work is RCT. Meta-analysis only paperwork.
Correct.
No,
the point is very simple.
I just wanted to introduce Dr. Alok Singh, who's my fellow and now practicing in Gorakhpur and
Yeah.
coming back to Mumbai to join Indian Journal of Ophthalmology as a medical writer.
Right.
So he's another Santan for me. Keep on
good.
criticizing.
Good. Now, you remember I said meta-analysis papers give you the best available evidence as of
Yeah,
today.
sure.
It's not a research. I'm saying if you want evidence for a particular question, what do? You look for meta-analysis of the papers with that particular question in mind has been answered. Like, for example, does the diabetic macular edema progress after an uncomplicated cataract operation? If you have that question in mind, you look for papers, RCTs with meta-analysis. Number of RCTs they have looked at, then they would analyze that the meta-analysis of the RCTs. Take 10 RCTs, they would analyze the 10 RCTs and present a paper. Meta-analysis is not a research in itself. Meta-analysis is the analysis of the RCTs and present that as paper. But that is excellent evidence whatsoever. That again depends on the quality of RCT. The quality of RCT is excellent, meta-analysis is going to be even better. That's all. That is a form of evidence, that's all. It's not a research, but if you want to do research, you need evidence. So where do you find evidence? One in meta-analysis.
And one more thing I want to clear at this point. What is the difference between meta-analysis and systemic reviews? Okay. Systemic reviews is
Very
nothing.
important.
When systemic reviews are compensated by
Was-
statistical analysis for its deficiency, it becomes meta-analysis. Okay. Only difference is the statistical compensation. Systemic reviews and meta-analysis essentially same. Meta-analysis has the statistical compensation only.
Correct. The meta-analysis important thing is further statistical analysis of the results already presented. That is there in systematic review, it is not there. That is the difference.
Thank you, Santan. Santan joins me as the associate editor and course director here with me.